they rhyme. Zeta, eta, theta, they rhyme. Phi, chi, yeah, that CH, or that looks like the X, is pronounced like a K, as in key, key, phi, chi, psi. And what's odd about those letters up there, do you notice? You notice anything odd or just strange to you about that alphabet, other than, it's just different? A letter missing?
There's a couple of letters missing.
You're kidding. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon. No.
From English.
Oh, I was gonna fire the one who helped me up there. There's like 7 or 8 letters missing. Yes, and so if you were to try to write your name, some of it may, like Wanda. How would you write Wanda using Greek letters? There's no W. At best, you could write Onda, because there's an alpha, there's a nu, there's a delta, and there's an alpha. Write an alpha. Could you write Bruce? How would you write his name? What letter would you start off? What makes the B sound? Beta. Is there an R up there? It looks like a P. Rho. Is there a U up there? Upsilon. What about a C? I would just use a sigma, because it makes that sound, Bruce, at best. And for the last letter of his name, E, I'd probably put an epsilon. Thea. How would you write her name? Theta. And that represents a TH. You're knocking out 2 in one letter. That's unlike our alphabet, isn't it? This is how you spell our alphabet, A, B, C, D. I mean, it's just one letter. I guess you can phonetically spell it out. But Omicron, that's a whole word to say that one letter. So that was odd to me when I was learning that alphabet. We don't think in that same terms as we do with our alphabet. So that was kind of new. Different words to represent a letter, and the sounds, and missing letters, and what do? Isabella, you could write her name easily, all those letters. Bernice, except the C. Okay. Jim, what would you do with his name? How you write his name? Jim, did you find out how to write your name in Greek? You took... Yeah, how in the world do you write Jesus? You see a J up there? John, Jacob, Joseph. You see a V up there? How would you write David? So, this is a name y'all know. And you won't know it this way. And if I were to transliterate it, I would... Ooh. Well, no, we just have the same S. Jesus, that's Jesus. And there's no J in Greek, but again, so you start it with a iota and a little mark. Smooth breather, that's called, a diacritical mark. But Jesus, that's how you write Jesus in Greek. New Testament's full of it. Jacobic, or Jacob, Jacob. So Johannes. So there's workarounds. David. If I wrote his name in Greek, and you'll find it in the New Testament, but it will look like this. That's the capital delta. And then they use an upsilon, Dawid. Remember? So like I always tell every Greek class, and there's no Y, so what do you do with Mary's name? Well, it's not Mary in the New Testament. Lynn, they just call you Lynn. Or if you go to heaven, as I always say, "Hey Mary, how you doing?" She just may not turn around. She's known by Maria or Miriam and David. If you want to say, "David, tell me about Goliath. What he looked like?" He said, "My name is not David, it's David." You know. But who knows even for that, because we don't have ancient recordings. We have ancient records of writing, but not of hearing and audible. So could be far off. I don't know, but as to study a language, even though it's dead, like Koine Greek is a dead language, we have to have a standardization of pronunciation so we can communicate with one another in class as we are doing right now. And we're going to do that today. Let's sing the song one more time. And you think you can sing it without me? Vernon thinks so. Brother Vernon does. All right, Brother Vernon, kick us off. Yes, you have. So here, she's going to give you the mic, so you're going to go all over the world. This is your debut. Sing it with them on three. 1, 2, 3.
Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu. Zu, z, omicron, t, rho, sigma, tau, tau. I get stuck.
Oh,
It's a tongue
mega.
twister. I apologize.
Yeah. Okay, you did really well. He choked. So from 1 to 10, give him 6. Yeah. 2.5. Wow.
He didn't complete it, he gets a 0. I don't apologize. I feel like you should.
Okay.
I'm tongue-tied when I'm trying to do it.
Let's give Brother Phillips the mic.
I've already repented.
What about Brother Sullivan?
That'd be an interesting thing.
Anybody want to stand up and lead it?
Brother Bonilla would see the views go down dramatically.
Everybody's shutting down the internet. Okay, this is what we're going to do. It's going to be a little lighter today. Take this sheet, Kata Joanan, according to John. That's a book of the Bible. That's the first page of John, first chapter of John. I don't know if it is in its completion. It's not in its completion, but I copied it out of my Greek Bible right here. And for all of us, hard to see, I even enlarged the print for your convenience. In the first, we'll call it the first paragraph. I don't know if you have a highlighter, but we have already discussed some words. How many words do you see in that first paragraph that you recognize? How many words do you recognize? Okay, take the first line. I see 1. How many do you see that you should know?
No.
Okay, I see 4. You see logos? You see logos again? You see theon? Did you put that down as one of your words you recognize? And what's the last one on that line you see? No, what's the last one on that first line? Theos. What does theon mean and what does theos mean? Do both of them mean God? Why are they spelled differently? Anybody know?
One's a subject, one's an object.
That's correct. Is that what you're going to say, Brother JJ? Tense. Well, this is called declension, how nouns in a sentence is used and how they function, and it changes the own word, or its own word. So take this sheet that I gave you that accompanies that text, and we have an exercise. Look at that. If something is a subject, it's called the nominative case. If it shows possessiveness or being possessive, it's the genitive case. You follow me on that? If it's an indirect object, it's dative. It's a direct object, it's accusative. And then you got your plural down here. So look how the word God changes, theos. So if I wanted to write the house of God, let's go to the house of God. Somebody want to come to the board and write out the word that they will use? What inflection of theos you would write? Does that make sense? Could win a prize. Who's brave?
Trevor, I think Brother Trevor needs to go up there.
Okay, in the house of God, God's house. It shows possession. The house of God. So which form of would you use? Theos? The house of God. How many vote that form?
Am I supposed to have a sheet to help me?
You have two sheets, yes. You have this sheet.
You see that, where,
Theon.
That's correct, Brother Ovo. Does anybody know why Brother Ovo said theon? That's right. In the accusative case, direct opposite. He's receiving the love. Okay, you're catching on. So on this page, you have 7 sentences. Okay? Let's go over the first sentence. Paulos agapa theon. Somebody translate that sentence for me. We know that Paulos is who? He's prominent in the New Testament. Okay. Notice how Paulos is spelled with the OS ending. Under the word Paul, you see his name ending in the OS anywhere? So on that line, what is he designated as? Okay, so looks like the subject is doing the action of loving, and whom is he loving?
God.
Okay, and anybody want to pronounce that form of that word theos? It's not theos, but it's what? Theon. Paulus agapa theon. Does that make sense? So the answer is Paul loves God. And it's written, I put it in the exact English syntax or sentence structure. But number 2, how do you translate and interpret that sentence? It looks like the same 3 words. But how do you translate that sentence? What does number 2 mean? Is that identical to number 1? Brother Sullivan says no, and he's correct.
Paul is loved by God?
Yes. So how would you read it in English? what about number 5? The house of whom, the house of whom and whom. Mm-hmm. But notice how it's Petru and Paulu. Why is it like that? You'd have to look up there. It's in the genitive case. They're showing ownership. It's their house. Or we would, in English, we'd say Peter and Paul's house. But in Greek, it always reads that way. Number 6 is an interesting one. Anybody want to translate that? You only got 2 words to translate. Go to Theo first, then to the house of Brusu.
The 13th apostle.
Bruce Sullivan's house.
Technically, there's already been 13.
Why did I put an OU on the end of Bruce's name?
To make it accusative.
Well, actually, that
Direct object.
it would be genitive because he's owning that house. First, go to God. God is in the dative. To God. Yeah, I know. Kills you. But you see it now?
Yeah.
To the house of Bruce. And the last sentence. Yeah. Men named Peter are in the Bible. So that's how his name. So when you talk to people in Greek, it's hard. We just all wouldn't be called Brother Yomi, Sister Wanda. Our names would inflect or change depending how we're being addressed, how we're speaking. It's just, you would have 8 different ways to say your name. So, very different, isn't it? Okay, so back to your sheet according to John. Got the sheet? Okay. You've memorized this scripture, but that first word, that 2 little letters, how would you pronounce that? In. Sounds just like our word, does it? In. Anybody want to try to pronounce that with what limited, and it's so limited, pronunciation you know for that second word? It begins with the A, R, a key, and an Ada. That's not E, in arche. So, repeat after me. In arche. Now that third word begins with an Ada, but it's got a rough breather, so you would pronounce that with the H. Hain. In arche hain ha logos. Can you say that? Hain ha logos. And then kai ha logos. We just said 3 words. Hain pros ton theon. So you just said, in beginning was the Word, and the Word was with the God. So you spoke your first sentence in Greek. And that wasn't so bad. Especially, you're on your 3rd hour of Greek this week. So, I'd like to go, I'll tell you what, where's Isabella? Can you get this going for me to the internet, and we'll get on Bible Hub? Because I want to show you a few things. And while she's doing that, I'm going to pass out something. Because you do have some homework. Don't lose this. It's been a while since we've done this. But in order to play this tomorrow, we'll take 10 minutes in class to play this game. You're going to have to put a Greek letter in each box. Remember this game? Okay.
Yep. No.
So just do that for homework tonight. Do what for homework? Put 1 Greek letter in each box. because that way you're going to have to know if you can't rack it. When I say alpha, you don't know what an alpha is. You won't know to cross it off and play bingo. So that will be your homework for tonight. Yes, we do. 7 o'clock. Okay. All right, now you had homework last night. Pull out this sheet.
My dog ate it.
Okay. And we sang this just to let you know we're going to have graduation next Friday. And we might sing it at graduation. We sang it, I think last year, didn't we, Sister Lynn? Because I remember you singing it. And it was very pretty. And I remember people in Sister Renetta's class singing a Spanish song, too. So, here it is. Anybody want to pronounce those first two words? E-S-T-I-N. Estin. Estin. Estin Curios. Curios. Can you see that it's Curios? K-U-R-I-O-S. Even when you write it out in English with English letters, it kind of helps you pronounce it because you're seeing your own letters then, as opposed to Greek. But so it'll sound like this when it's sung. Estin Curios. Estin Curios. Now I know what's problematic is how long do you hold these syllables? I find that hard in Spanish when I sing a Spanish song. Estin Curios. You've got 3 syllables, curios, because you have 3 vowels. Remember, a word has as many vowels as it does syllables as is many vowels. So if you've got 3 vowels in a word, you're going to have 3 syllables. And I'm including diphthongs, and we talked about that one year, but I don't know if it's 2 vowels together makes 1 sound. But anyway, for this purpose, estin curios, anaste ek necron, kai estin curios, panganu, confe, panstama, ere, hati Jesus curios. Okay, let's try it again, and y'all can just follow me. You ready? Estin curios, estin curios, honeste, et necron, kai estin curios, panganu, confe, panstama, ere, hati Jesus curios. So it's like that. Yeah.
Feedback. Oh. Here's your brain. Brothers in here back here just laughing.
We're all deaf now. Boy, I think they can hear me across the street. That's loud. Okay, because we've got to sing this next weekend. Who is going to be here next week? Raise your hand. Okay, so about half the class. Well, Brother Yomi's going to be here. Brother Sullivan, you won't be here next week, or will you? Okay, okay.
Oh, he's going to be a leader.
Because I've told my teacher about you.
Brother Yomi says not me.
Because y'all got to help me teach this. We're going to hopefully teach some new things, but we only have 3. Well, we've got 4, but my Greek teacher is going to teach us Monday. Then we have the tour Tuesday, so we have 3 Greek classes. So tomorrow we're going to talk about 2 new Greek words, and they're not masculine. All these words I gave you today are masculine. Logos, theos, petros, paulos, They're all masculine, and they shared that little declension table of endings. They all have the same endings. Not so with neuter nouns or feminine nouns. And in fact, feminine nouns have different endings. They're not as, I mean, they're all systematized, but there's different rules about the endings. A little more complex, I guess. So we'll get this down, and you got to help teach next week. Okay, so let's try it again, okay, before we go on. Okay, just repeat it after me. Eston. Does anybody want to write down any phonetical helps that helps you memorize? That's how you say Eston. Like you could write out a phonetical spelling like this. I don't see Well, this is how it's spelled, Eston. That's kind of how you would write it, Eston. And maybe like kurios would be kurios. If I were to just give you that, you could pronounce it just looking at that phonetical help, kurios. So, Eston kurios, Eston kurios. Without my telling you, anybody want to sound off that first word in the third line? How many vowels does it have? So we're going to have 3 syllables. And that first word begins with the vowel, so that's going to be a syllable by itself. Ne, stay. That's how you say that. Ne, stay. That A is by itself, that NE is together by itself, and then ST, it sounds like A, but it's an E with a line above it, and that symbolizes an eta. Honest day. Mm-hmm. Honest day. Honest day. On that little word, how many vowels do you see in that 2-letter word? 1, so it's 1 syllable. Ek. Mm-hmm. Ekkaleo, called out. Ekklesia. Ek. That means out, out from. That's a preposition. And how many vowels do you see in that next word? Mm-hmm. So 2 syllables. And you would divide it between that K in that row or the kappa in the row. So anybody want to try to pronounce that? Uh-huh. Nekron. Honesty, ek, nekron. So estin kurios, honesty, ek, nekron. What about that next one? How many vowels do you see in that word? 2, but that's called a diphthong, so those 2 blend to make 1 sound. So we're going to count those 2 letters as 1, okay? So it's 1 syllable. It's kai. It's the most used word in the New Testament. It means and. Kai. And what's the next? How do you pronounce that next word? Estin kurios. Mm-hmm. He is Lord. Okay. What about this next word? How many vowels do you see in that? So anybody want to pronounce that? Pan. If you were to write it down in English, you would think you've written pan, but for these purposes, it's pan. How many letters in that second word? G-O-N-U. How many vowels? 2 vowels, so 2 syllables. Ganu. We've been singing Ganu because it just comes out easier across the tongue in singing it. Pan, Ganu. And what about that one? How many vowels do you see in that third word? 1's a diphthong, so we're going to count it as 2, not 3. That EI is a diphthong, meaning 2 vowels sitting beside each other, joined to make 1 sound. So it's com-fay. Com, C-A-M, but it's com, P-H-A-Y, fay, F-A-Y. You can pronounce it like that. Pan, Ganu, com-fay. Mm-hmm. You can write down those little phonetical helps. You with me on it? You need me to give you some time. We're on He is Lord. I don't know if you have that one, Brother Steele, that looks like this.
The one you gave out yesterday?
Mm-hmm. And then every tongue, stama, pan stama ere. He is Lord, He is Lord, He is risen from the dead, and He is Lord. Every knee shall bow, every tongue confess. Confess is ere. Pan stama ere. Hati Jesus Kurios. He is Lord. So, I'll let you finish writing those phonetical helps and then we'll sing it again. It'll be much easier. Because that's how I did it when I took my first Greek class under Brother Phillips. He'd say, how do you pronounce it? And I would just write down sounds. I didn't know what I was reading. Yeah. And he said that was right, and I don't know what I said. So you're going to do that through this song. Okay, you're ready to sing it?
Did we do the bottom one?
Yeah, hati. That O is pronounced with the H because it's got a rough breather and there's two vowels, so it's hati. Hati Jesus Kurios. They can hear that over the internet. Okay. So, estin kurios, honeste ek nekron, kai estin kurios, panganu kamphe, pan stama ere, hati Jesus kurios. Any questions? How'd you do, Brother Obo? It's good. It's good. Okay, you did it. So you know two Greek songs, Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, and He is Lord, or El es Señor, or Estin Kurios. Those are the three titles, three different languages. Estin Kurios, He is Lord. So, any questions? Any questions about that declension chart? That's what you call it. How you decline the word logos, the word theos, paulos, petros.
All right, Sister Wanda, on the fifth line, the last word.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, comphe. So let me write it.
What is that letter, the third one from the last?
Okay, that's, I may have been pronouncing that wrong.
It's the next to the last.
Compse. No, compse. That is a psi. That's not a fee. You have corrected me on that. Way to go. Brother Sullivan. I have been singing that for 2 or 3 years, and I've been saying comphe, and it's compse. Okay, let me show you what he's brought out. You see it? You see it? Okay. Come, say. So, here we go. That's an A. That's an alpha. This is a diphthong, but that's going to be one vowel. So we see two vowels, so it's going to be 2 syllables. We're going to separate it between these 2 consonants. So, say. Compse. Yes, a little harder to say because we don't say it like that. We don't talk compse, not compfe. Compfe was easier.
Put the P with the M.
Compse, yeah. So it's compse. So correct your phonetics.
What's the English form of that?
Can see every knee shall bow. Shall bow.
Shall bow?
Mm-hmm. And stama is tongue on the next one. Every tongue confess that He is Lord. Hati is that Jesus Christ is Lord. Well, you don't see the word Christ in there, but we sing it. But Ja to Jesus. We're not even saying Christ, that Jesus is Lord. So I tell you, that hamster in there is on the wheel, Brother Sullivan.
Thank you. He's moving real slow.
Yeah, he's elderly now. But he caught it. Very good observation. Okay, what else is there that? All right, so I'm going to test you on this. How much time do I have left? So we've sung. You've got homework, especially if you want to. I've got about 5 minutes. I'm going to write a word, and I want to see if you know it. If you can figure it out. That one's too easy. That's too easy. All these are easy. Okay. Can you see that?
Turn the board a little bit towards us.
Okay.
Get it sort of slanted.
Can you see that? Almost. What does it mean? Yeah. I tell you, this is just, yeah. Okay, let's transliterate it. Transliterate it. So what is that? That's kind of looks like just like it does in English. What is that? That's a iota. So give me the Greek name of this letter. Moon. That's equivalent to, what is that called? It's equivalent to our O. What is that letter called? And you know this word. And here's where you would stress it or accent it. So, Timotheus. Timotheus. A lot of times you hear Timotheus. We just don't squabble about the exact sound. It's just too much time for nothing. But it's Timotheus, and that's Timothy. So that's how he addressed Timotheus. And he went to the house of Timothy. And he loves Timotheon. Timotheon is what it would be, Timotheon. So that's a pretty good biblical name, you know. So on your vocabulary list, how many words that you've learned in Greek since yesterday? Pull out your vocabulary list, because this is what you're going to be tested on. What are the words you already know in Greek? Theos, ekklesia. And what are the 2 persons' names that we discussed today? So you're going to have to know how to write those in Greek. So logos, theos. What, Brother Obed? Arche. I wasn't going to test you on that one, but you already know it. I can if you want. So that's 4. Peter, Paul, God, and Word. And tomorrow you're going to learn 2 very big ones, and we're going to discuss a scripture, and I think you're going to really enjoy that. So your list is growing. So by Friday, you will have at least 10 words that you'll be tested on. And then I think it would be exciting to do some more of these sentences. You think you could do a sentence for me? Like if I were to write a sentence just like I did these, how difficult was that? Y'all thinking about it? You could do it, couldn't you? Especially if I go ahead and give you the list of declension. You could follow this and know how to translate and interpret this sentence, couldn't you? Well, I'll give you this part. Yeah, this would be open book. You can't use this sheet. I'll because none of that will be on there. But if I give you this little chart right here, because I'll tell you, in Greek, my teacher lets us have open book for 15 minutes of an hour test. And believe me, it's just not long enough. It's just not. So, yesterday we started one. You use a blank sheet of paper and write the word logos, theos, paulos, petros. Those are all Greek masculine nouns, and they all go by this same chart of declining the verb, the noun. You conjugate a verb, decline a noun, because those endings are important.
One on the, on those sentences like, Paul loves God. Why, what is the tense of loves there?
Love, I kept it all in the present active indicative. He is loving. So you could translate it, God is loving Paul, or Paul is loving God. We learned that in Greek. They give us dual translations. A simple present, I love God, or I am loving God, to show the aspect of the verb, or what kind of verb it is. Not the timing, but the kind of verb, something that shows ongoing, repetition. Okay, okay, for a verb. Oh, you just can't see this. Agapo, you'll see it with the O right there, but you know how we have contracted verbs, can and can't? This is contracted. Agapo. So this is the present active, it's the present tense, active voice, and the mood is indicative. We haven't talked about that except the subjunctive. So if I put God agapo, or it'd really be God agape, Petron, you can translate it, God loves Peter, or God is loving Peter. And guess what? Context will dictate which kind of translation. But that verb does show ongoing action or continuous action. It's repetitive or ongoing. That's the action art, as one German word says it, or the kind of action that this present tense verb conveys. Yeah, it's happening now, or it may have happened in the present, but what's significant about it, it was continual. It's continual. But there can be a simple present too, and context will dictate. So, so that's the first thing you learn in Greek. We start off with the present tense, and we learn present active indicative. And most of our homework is present active indicative verbs. And then you'll go into future, then you go into imperfect, then perfect, then aorist, then pluperfect, then or perfect. There's a perfect. An action that happened in the past and completed in the past. I ate the donut. Perfect tense. Past tense. Action started in the past and completed in the past. But in Greek, it shows that something still carries on from the past into the future. It's a little different. So have I said enough to confuse you?
Yep, I'm there.
I know. But as you use Bible Hub, you'll see all this. And we need to play on it so I can show you, because you'll look at Bible Hub. How many of you use Bible Hub? You know, have you looked down there and said, what does that mean? What does that mean? All these little marks. Or when you see a verb, you'll see, or like when you see a noun, Paulos, when you look up his name, then you'll see this, and then you'll see this. Every dictionary entry, you'll see three things: the noun or the verb. This lets me know what kind of system or declension of endings I'm going to use, and that tells me if it's masculine, feminine, or neuter. Anyway, but there's a lot of things you're going to look at in Bible Hub, in commentaries, that you won't know what it means, but it has little clues like that. So that's why it's not easy, but there's a lot you can glean from it, in knowing verb tense especially. And that's just more advanced. Just let alone knowing words and how to pronounce them is hard enough or challenging enough, especially for this level. I only got you 5 hours this week and 4 hours next week. So we're challenged. What am I going to teach you? What will best benefit you as a student? And come to me after class. Say, Sister Wanda, I'd like to learn this or know more about this, whether it's a verb tense, a specific scripture that's bothering you that you looked up in the Greek and it's kind of more confusing. It plunged you more into darkness than it did in light. And that's what's going to happen. So, yes.
The one thing I've definitely discovered is that the English language is very imprecise compared to Greek.
Compared to Greek. Greek, yeah, it takes more words to translate something from Greek. Greek is very efficient, fewer words. It would take maybe 3 words to translate 2 Greek words. Yeah, it just always takes more words. Because so much is packed, so much information is packed in the verb and in the noun, especially the verb. So I think class is about over. So you can breathe with a deep sigh of relief. Yeah, because Sister Renetta starts in 7 minutes. So class is ending. We'll learn 2 new Greek words tomorrow in the scripture. Go ahead, Sister. I can come to you. Okay. All right, class over. You got a break. So now, Sister